Hi there everyone, this is GayGamer.net's Navi Fairy, and this is the very first video Xbox Live indie game review. So I just wanted to do a quick refresher in case anyone's been having trouble finding the indie games on the Xbox Live Marketplace. Just go up to the Game Marketplace and up to Indie Games, and then you can search by new arrivals, top downloads, top rated, or browse by name. And yeah, let's get started. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Clover, A Curious Tale. And this is actually the third time that I'll be talking about Clover. It was released last year as just Clover on Xbox Indie Games, and then earlier this year as Clover, A Curious Tale on PC. And the PC version added a lot of new enhancements with alternate endings, new characters, fully voiced dialogue, and all sorts of new puzzles. And this is Clover, A Curious Tale, the PC version, now brought back to the Xbox 360. And it's kept all of the enhancements, so like great voice acting, or at least especially for an indie game.
Top of the morning to you, Squire. Fancy going to Trigfield the quick way? I'd offer you a trip on the old horse and cart, but Paddington is being lazy again.
It's an adventure game in the style of classics like the Dizzy series or Maniac Mansion. And so you're collecting objects and using them on whatever you can to try and get a new result. The game actually has a bit of a political slant to it. It was designed right after the decision to go into Iraq. And to that end, game actually, for this first weekend, the game's developer Binary Tweed will be donating the proceeds to the international charity War Child to help soldiers and their families. So it's a great adventure indie game that actually donates to a great cause. Second game we're going to be looking at is Breeze, and despite its friendly appearances, you're probably going to see me die a lot while playing because this is actually a very hard game. This is the first level, so it's not very hard. But basically you're controlling this fan, and you're using the R button, R trigger, you can blow the fan to move the flower to try and get to the goal at the end of each level. And if the flower touches the walls or the fan itself, like that, it explodes and you have to start over. And the gameplay itself doesn't really evolve more than that, but it's a lot of fun. It's very challenging. There's also a easy mode where the walls will still kill you, but the fan itself won't kill the flower, which does make things easier. And then this is introducing that you have to collect sunlight to open up the exit in some levels. And yeah, this is Breeze. You can also go here, and effects by gravity, and you die a lot. But you have fun doing it, so it's all good. And the third game for our indie game roundup this week is this Japanese game, which I have no idea how that's supposed to be pronounced. And so let's start. And the way you play is you tilt the level, and this little slime will bounce according to however you tilt. So it takes a little bit getting used to. And they're enemies, but they don't kill you. You just kind of bounce off them, and they become an obstacle that way. And then you can also, if I can align the bounce right, if you hold down the A button, you can do a super bounce to jump higher, and then you aim for the exit. And it's crazy Japanese and a lot of fun, and I don't really understand what's going on in the game, but I love playing anyways, so that's always a good sign if you don't even understand it and still love playing it. So that does it for the easy to recommend yay games. Now let's move on to the just on the cusp games in the A category. So first we have Star Crisis, and I found it doesn't really matter for me which difficulty level I select because these controls are very difficult. And so it looks like a standard space shooter, except that you're constantly falling, and you have to use the thrust to move up on the screen, which makes it very hard to accurately shoot at enemies in a line or dodge bullets. Or at least it does for me. Oh, almost got that guy. So, as a result, I typically don't make it very far. I haven't been able to even beat the first level boss because of the controls. Let's see what this does. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the controls are your greatest foe, but if you can get past that, then the game has a lot of 8-bit charm and an endless mode, so plenty of content. I just can't seem to fly this little jetpack guy. So yeah, that's Star Crisis. So next up we have Avatar Squadron, which is a bit more of a standard shooter compared to Star Crisis. As you can see, the enemies are quite large, so it's a bit of a easier shooter. And I really like the comic style presentation of it, where you have the little bang 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 for when you shoot and the little sound effects when the bullets hit enemies. And as you can see, collecting gems and medals gives you points, and you're scored at the end of the level based on how many of those you collected. And I love this hammer, just the Mario Donkey Kong style hammer. Just the smashing planes with it. It's a nice little power up. In later levels, there are tanks and other things that you have to fight, and you can get a giant magnet that can pick up tanks, and that's really cool. But it's just a fun, simple shooter for people that like their shooters a little bit more lighthearted rather than the intense bullet hell variety. Finally, we have Axeh, a Japanese strategy card game where you try to conquer the board against your opponent. And you can place the cards on the board to build bases, you can draw new cards from your existing bases, and I don't know, it's a fairly complex game compared to most of what appears on the Xbox Indie Game channel. So it has a bit of a steep learning curve. But once you get used to it, it's actually a lot of fun. And it's kind of a tug-of-war match between you and your opponent, going at it trying to take over the whole map. You can play either single player like I am here, or you can play against a friend, or you can even play online if your friend has another copy of the game. So yeah, it's a good multiplayer strategy game. It's just a little difficult getting into. Aha! Taking over part of the map. So just to recap, for this week we have games that make you say yay. We have Clover: A Curious Tale, Breeze, and crazy Japanese slime bouncing game that I can't pronounce. For games that make you say A, we have Star Crisis, Avatar Squadron, and Japanese card game Axeh. So tune in next week where we'll review more Xbox indie games. Hope you like it.